of speakers or what? No, I mean it. Of course, Scarborough hit his head right after he was here, and that did permanent damage. And well, what can I say? But you know, an almost perfect lineup, no question about it. I'm a little giddy tonight because I have had the honor, as you folks know, to introduce many of those folks. And I told Lohman I've never been more excited than tonight. I love this guy. I mean, Jesse Waters is one of the funniest people that you'll see on TV. He's brilliant. He is so well prepared. You know, I do 4 hours of talk every day. I know what it takes to prepare, and I am envious because he is prepared. If you watch that show, how many watch The Five and Waters World? Well, I'll tell you, you watch that show, you know how good all of them are. But what's interesting is Gutfeld, who is amazing, has all this preparation before him, okay? The guy you're going to hear from tonight is as prepared, and it's up here. I never see any notes. An amazing guy. I do have his official bio, so I am going to go ahead and read that. Jesse is currently the host of Waters World, Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Woo-hoo! Co-host of The Five. The best part of that is when Juan was still on The Five, and they were all in the box with Zoom, and Jesse would get on there and start talking, and Juan Williams looked like he was giving birth. I mean, it's true, though. He really got Juan going. But he joined the network in 2002 as a production assistant. You talk about a great rise in his career here. On Waters World, he takes on compelling guests, top newsmakers with his original style and fun personality. In March 2017, he aired an exclusive interview with President Donald Trump aboard Air Force One. On The Five, Jesse is part of the roundtable ensemble of Fox News personalities who discuss, debate, even debunk hot news stories, controversies of the day. Jesse made his on-camera debut as a correspondent. We all remember this with Bill O'Reilly and the O'Reilly factor. What we didn't know is he got that job because he was annoying people at Fox, and O'Reilly sent him out on the road so he wouldn't annoy as many people. True story. Jesse graduated from Trinity College with a Bachelor of Arts degree in history, and he is from Philadelphia. How about that? And he's a new dad. He's the father of a set of twin daughters, but has a new baby boy as well. Please welcome Pennsylvania native Jesse Waters.
It's nice to be able to speak to you guys without being interrupted by Juan Williams. And Juan and I have actually more in common than you guys think. A few years ago, we did a DNA test on The Five, and turns out I'm 99.9% European and 0.1% sub-Saharan African. So I'm actually more black than Liz Warren is Native American. So what I want to do today as a black Trump supporter, that's how I identify. I want to tell you guys the real story of 2020. But it begins with a man named Bill O'Reilly. One day, Bill said to me, Waters, I want you to go out to the streets and I want you to find out how much people actually know about America. And it turns out they know very little. Here are some actual answers to real Waters World questions. You guys want to hear these? All right. Who did America fight in the Revolutionary War? China. Who won the Civil War? France. Who did America fight in the Vietnam War? Not a trick question. South Korea. You want me to keep going? What body of water is on the east coast of the United States? The Red Sea. He was in Aspen, so it might have been a little, it's the elevation, I think. And then my all-time favorite, what do you think about the Ebola virus? It's nice. So it's funny, but it's scary because you have a population that's oblivious, and they can be bamboozled and hoodwinked by powerful interests. And that's why you get open borders. That's why you get massive debt. And that's why the country is in bad shape in the summer of 2016, 15. And the two politicians that were supposed to solve all these problems, Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush, the two most boring politicians in America, until Donald Trump comes down the elevator. Escalator? You were looking at Melania, I know, but Trump was there. And immediately Donald Trump makes this huge connection to the American people. The media don't see it, but there's the connection. Let me give you an example. You guys know what the Iowa State Fair is, right? Nothing, you've been? It's the opposite of Midtown Manhattan. You know, there's fried everything. Politicians go there and press the flesh and act like regular people. Donald Trump goes to the Iowa State Fair. He lands his helicopter in the Iowa State Fair, walks out in his $5,000 suit, grabs a pork chop on a stick, takes a bite, and then starts giving kids rides in his helicopter above the fair. Wins the fair like that. Done. And then you guys remember the first debate? You said this about women, you said that. No, no, no. Only Rosie O'Donnell. Crushes the debate. Megyn Kelly and Trump have a huge problem. Roger Ailes, late Fox CEO, has to handle it behind the scenes. A lot of bad blood, but they tried to patch that up. And Trump, from then on, basically like a middle schooler, just ridiculed his way through that primary. Do you remember the nicknames? Little Marco, Lion Ted. My favorite, what he said about Mitt Romney. He said, Mitt Romney is poor, and he walks like a penguin. He does. So Trump just runs roughshod through that field, and we come into the summer, and what does Comey do? Comey lets Hillary off the hook for the emails. Now, if her name was anyone but Clinton, she'd be in jail. So that sets up a new dynamic in the race where it's the system is rigged, and Donald Trump is running against a rigged system. That's when the nickname Crooked comes out. And that kind of helps propel Trump. And we go into, I believe it's early September, and polls are getting tighter. I think Hillary is walking back from a 9/11 ceremony, and she's walking, and she's walking, and she's walking, and Hillary faints. Well, you'd faint too if you were married to Bill. And all of a sudden, this race is volatile, and things start to close. And first debate, kind of a wash, and on the eve of the next debate, what happens? Access Hollywood tape drops. And so basically what that is, NBC drops it, parent company Comcast, Brian Roberts, CEO, big Obama donor. They leaked that to the Washington Post, and they hit Trump with it. He kind of apologized, locker room talk. But what does Trump do? He doubles down. Next debate, he brings every single one of Bill Clinton's mistresses and alleged sexual assault victims, and he lines them up on a table in front of the press. It's a long table. And then he threatens to bring the women into the debate hall. Now, Bill Clinton's already freaking out because he's sitting near Melania. But they don't let him in. And you remember the line of the night from the second debate, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, but if I were president, you'd be in jail right now. Now they're trying to put him in jail. So he crushes that debate and kind of skates into election night. And on election night, Hillary actually goes to bed at 7 o'clock. Hillary thought she'd need rest because she had a big victory speech that night. She needed her beauty sleep. And she wakes up to a nightmare. Donald Trump has won Florida, North Carolina, and Ohio. And after that is history. Donald Trump is the president of the United States. So Hillary uncorks the Russia hoax as an excuse, and the resistance pops up. Now, I've interviewed the resistance. The only thing they're resisting is soap. It was rough. And these people firebombed a limousine at Trump's inauguration. Limo was actually owned by a Muslim immigrant, so that kind of backfired. But these were nasty, nasty people. So I figured, after the inauguration, I got to interview the president. So I call Hope Hicks, and she sets it up, and I fly down to Nashville, and he's doing a big event. And I'm waiting in the holding room for the president to come in, and he barrels into the room, grabs my hand. "Jesse, how you doing?" He goes over to the mirror on the wall, takes a thing of hairspray. No joke. We sit down. He said, "You see the crowd out there? 60,000, 80,000, 90,000 people." I think there's like 10,000 people. I was like, "Yeah, big crowd, Mr. President." So we knock out the interview, and as it wraps, he goes, "All right, Waters, you want to fly back to D.C. on Air Force One?" Yeah. So the next thing you know, we're loading up the steps to Air Force One, and he puts the Fox people in the middle with the HBO people, and all of the rest of the fake news in the back of the plane. And so I put the cameras on, and we go into his little boardroom on Air Force One, and I try to lighten things up, and I said, "Mr. President, now that you're a president, they're going to have to call this jet Hair Force One." Yeah, he didn't think it was that funny either. So then we go back, and he tells me, he's like, "Turn the cameras off," and we're just talking. And I'm just trying to make conversation. I said, "Mr. President, it's kind of weird that you were playing In Sync at your rallies. What's up with that?" He goes, "In Sync? I love In Sync. Lance Bass is the man." I said, "Lance Bass is the man?" He goes, "Yeah, Waters, I was at a cocktail party in Manhattan the other day, and there was this perfect 10, gorgeous model, and she was with some New York Jets linebacker. Guy's got a perfect physique. And all of a sudden, Lance Bass walks by, and the model leaves the athlete and just starts chasing after Lance Bass. Jesse, Lance Bass gets tail." I said, "Mr. President, Lance Bass is gay." He said, "He is?" Like your gaydar is broken, Mr. President. He goes, "All right, Waters, I'll see you later. I'm going to go back and talk to the failing New York Times." So that was over, and all of a sudden I get a shot on the 5, and I get into the center seat, and then a couple weeks later the phone rings. And it's the president. And he said, "Jesse, my man, I just got back from Japan 5 days. It was meeting after meeting after meeting. If Jeb were president, he would have had to have taken a nap." And so he goes, why don't you guys come to the White House for dinner? Everybody on the five. I said, even Juan? Long pause. He says, what the hell, bring Juan. So not everyone went. I went with a couple other people, and we walk into the White House, and we go upstairs, and the president's there. He goes, hey, you guys want to come up to the Lincoln bedroom? And I was like, I don't have to donate anything? He's like, it's not the 90s, let's go. So we get up to the Lincoln bedroom, and we walk past the bed, and past the bed by the window is the Gettysburg Address. And it's beautiful, and it's encased in glass. And the president looks at the address, and he looks at me, and he says, Jesse, did you know that some people say that my Twitter feed is the modern-day equivalent of the Gettysburg Address? And I said, some people meaning you? Yeah. And then he walks by the bed and said Lincoln was tall, but he wasn't handsome. And we walk down the stairs, and he shows me this other room, and he shows me this Monet that Jackie O had donated to the White House. He goes, I'm thinking about taking the Monet back to Mar-a-Lago. I said, Mr. President, that's not a good idea. He said, why? Crooked took the silverware. She did. And so we go to sit down for dinner, and he's just the best host. He's telling stories, and we're just listening and laughing. And then in the middle of dinner, Melania walks in the room. And she's the first lady now, statuesque, perfect posture, perfect outfit. And I don't know how to greet her. Is she the queen? Do I curtsy? Do I bow? Do I kiss her hand? I don't know what to do. What's the protocol? So I panic. And I go in for a kiss. Not on the lips. I go in for the cheek thing. I go, mwah. And then as I'm in there, next to the First Lady, I remember she's European. So I go, I got to go for the other cheek. And then when I go, denied. And I sit my butt right back down. So the Trump turn starts out really rambunctious. And I call this, it was like the politics of revenge and hatred. The Democrats hate Trump because he blew through the blue wall, and probably because he stole about 3 Supreme Court picks from Hillary. The media those weren't supposed to be Trump's picks. And the media hates Trump because he humiliated them on election night, wasn't supposed to win, and he highlights their lies. And the establishment hates Trump because he took down the Bush and Clinton dynasties, and he updated the outdated Cold War foreign policy. And many people in the corporate world hate him because he is a pro-worker border hawk who's tough on China. So a second Trump term was unacceptable, especially if Bill Barr had been AG for the second term. They would have smoked out all the guys that had spied on the campaign. Now, you remember what happened in the campaign? Crooked bought a batch full of lies from Russian intel and gave it to Obama, who used it to wiretap Trump. The witch hunt by Mueller, that was to cover that up, so no one ever found out about that, and then try to trap Trump in a process crime to use for impeachment. Well, thank God Bill Barr called his bluff. So Bill Barr says, show me what you got. And he didn't have anything. No collusion, no obstruction. Hillary was the one that colluded, and the only thing Trump obstructed was Hillary getting into the White House. Right? Yeah, so Mueller was in on the plan. He held that investigation like a dark cloud over the Republican Party, so the Republicans lost in the midterms, gave Nancy the gavel. And so when they couldn't impeach him on collusion, they snuck a little Biden guy into the perfect phone call. Not the most perfect phone call, but not impeachable. And what Pelosi was doing there is she was basically trying to impeach Trump because he was zeroing in on Biden family corruption in Ukraine. Biden's the front runner, can't have him go down over Ukraine. But they impeached on party lines, except for Romney. Probably a little sore over the penguin comment. And so now at this point, Biden is the front runner. And he is the weakest front runner you've ever seen. Can't put anybody away, can't pull away. Kamala Harris calls him racist, then she flames out. Beto's flailing his arms around like he's on meth. Mini Mike tries to buy in, only ends up winning American Samoa. Socialist Bernie Sanders is the only real threat, so what'd they do? They rigged the Iowa caucus. What'd it take, like 4 days for them to count the votes? Bernie won, but they gave it to Mayor Pete instead. That was a test run for November. So Biden also got a little creepy. Do you guys remember the video of him sniffing little girls' hair? Media wouldn't cover it. He was accused of rape. Media wouldn't cover it. How about the video where he was talking about being a lifeguard? Little kids were rubbing my leg hair. Guys, this is a direct quote from Joe Biden. I like it when little kids jump on my lap. What? So he's gone from now quid pro Joe to sleepy Joe to creepy Joe. Things are looking good. Trump's just beat impeachment. Gallup has him at over 50%. Stock market's crushing it. Wages are up $5,000 in 3 years. I mean, things are looking beautiful. We are talking landslide city. Until the China virus hits. Now, at first I'm thinking Trump's going to be great at this because he hates China and is a germaphobe. So, what does he do? He shuts down travel. Fauci locks everybody down. They fire up Operation Warp Speed. You think after the 30 days of whatever, you open things back up and you wait out the vaccines, right? Perfect plan. Democrats wouldn't let it happen. Democrats had to divide the country in an election year. The country should have united against China. Instead, the Democrats divided the country against Trump with the help of Fauci. Fauci said, no, took the heat off of China, didn't come from a lab, came from some animal. Animal can't even defend itself. And that's where we got where we were. Anything Trump did made him the villain. He was like, Cuomo, have some hospital ships, have some PPE. No, they made Cuomo the hero. So things are looking bad, stock market's in tatters, everyone's in quarantine, Trump's in a bad mood, so Trump does what everybody does when they're in a bad mood. They invite me over for dinner. So Hannity and I get on Hannity's jet, and we take Kilmeade, and we take Pete Hegseth and his wife, and my wife's there, the good guys. And we fly down to Camp David. Now, Camp David, the security is provided by the Navy, and this is the height of the pandemic, so we all have to be tested. So I go and I do the Abbott test. They stick it up your nostril, and then you have to wait 15 minutes. No news is good news. So we're all sitting around drinking and waiting for the test, and all of a sudden one of the naval officers comes over. Mr. Waters, I need to speak with you. I said, oh no. He said, pulls me aside, Mr. Waters, unfortunately, you have tested positive for COVID. I said, how am I getting home? Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere in the woods. I live in New York. I came down on Hannity's jet. What, do I have to rent a car? You know when you get those nervous sweats, you start sweating? So I don't know what I'm going to do. And then the naval officer says, Mr. Waters, I'm sorry, but Mr. Hannity put me up to this, sir. Yeah. It's like, thank God. I'm clean. So I curse out Sean, and we have another drink, and we roll in, and we get a tour on these little golf carts from the chaplain from Camp David, and he walks around and gives us a little history tour. This is where Bush installed the horseshoes. This is where Eisenhower put in the little par 3. He goes, there's the hot tub up there. Who do you think put in the hot tub? Clinton. So Mark Levin joins us, the great one. And so we all go over to the chapel, and it's beautiful. It's wood. It's got stained glass windows. And he shows us this is where the Bible is, and this is the Torah where Jared had installed. And Mark Levin goes, where do they keep the Quran? No Quran at Camp David. So then everybody gets changed, and we get dressed, and we go in for dinner with the president. We take a few pictures, and we're having dinner. And Bob Kraft is there, the owner of the New England Patriots. Who clapped? I thought this was an Eagles table here. Right. Go Birds. Go Sixers. What's the score? Anyway, so Bob Kraft starts giving a toast. And in the middle of the toast, he just goes, Donald Trump shot up out of his seat, stiff arms the owner like Gronkowski. I've never seen a man his age move like that. No COVID, no droplets. He's dodging droplets. And then so he just kind of takes the toast over, and then he starts saying, because Ivanka and Jared are there, and he starts saying, you know, I tried to set up Ivanka with Tom Brady, and Ivanka's beet red at this point. Jared's even worse. And he goes, but she's with Jared, and she's with Jared, and he goes, Jared Kushner can't throw a spiral to save his life, but boy, can he get us those ventilators. So we go back to watch a movie after dinner. They have a little movie room at this place, and there's popcorn. And the president goes over to get popcorn, and he's got the little bag of popcorn. And do you guys know those like industrial-sized salt canisters? They're blue with the white top, and then they have that little metallic lip that pulls down with your fingernail. It's yay big. He takes this jug, tips down the little spout, and he's just pouring salt, thick streams of salt into this popcorn. And I'm counting the seconds. It's like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and he's still going. And I'm like, so this is the diet of a very stable genius. It's astounding. And so my wife was sitting next to him, and I was sitting next to my wife, and the movie's about to start. And then the president leans over to my wife, and he says, so do you sleep naked? And I'm a man, but there's Secret Service, and he's the president. What do I do? So after a few seconds, I lean over to my wife and I said, what did he just ask you? And she says, oh, he said, so do you think Sleepy Joe's going to make it? So do you sleep naked? So do you think Sleepy Joe's? I was like, okay. We're good. Woo! And so we watched the movie, Ford versus Ferrari. It was terrible. Then Hannity fell asleep. And after the movie wraps, the president goes, all right, movie was all right. Not as good as Water's World, though. I'm going to go back and watch it right now. It's past midnight. TiVo, greatest invention ever. Yes. So we get back from Camp David, and what happens next? George Floyd gets killed. And, you know, this cop's a bad apple. Should never have done that. He was loaded up with narcotics, but didn't need the knee in the neck for that long at all. Every organization has bad apples. I mean, Fox has the decision desk. Just kidding. So, but that basically cracks the quarantine. Everybody pours out onto the streets, quarantine's over, but the protests turn into riots. But the media, oh, these are just mostly peaceful. That's like when someone says, yes, my wife is mostly faithful. No, that doesn't work. $2 billion in damage, 30 deaths, crime wave all over the country. And this kind of reshapes the race, because Trump is now heavy law and order on this, sending in National Guard to wherever he can. He resumes his coronavirus briefings with a much more sober tone. He starts to push to reopen schools, reopen sports, and he basically cuts Biden's lead in half in the battlegrounds. But Biden's still hiding in his basement, and he's just saying, I'm doing this because of science. But he was really doing it because he can't campaign. He's a terrible campaigner. And the media and the Democrats scare the bejesus out of the country. They say, don't go outside, you'll die. You can't even vote. If you go vote, you'll die. So Democrats, I think, filed about 200 lawsuits across the country in states to make these states loosen their voting regulations, loosen deadlines, loosen signature requirements. What I think in Pennsylvania, you could send in a ballot with no postage, no signature. It can arrive 3 days late, and they'll still count it. And they're basically pumping out unsolicited tens of millions of ballots into the ecosystem, no chain of custody. It's a disaster. So that's, speaking of disasters, the first debate. Not good. 3-car pileup, Wallace, Biden, and Trump. Trump accused the Democrats of jabbing Biden in the ass with a stimulant before the debate and demanded a drug test. Hunter heard drug test, ran out of the room. So the first debate was bad, and Trump's numbers really started to drop, but then he caught the Rona. And I was legitimately worried because I had seen the salt he'd eaten. Risk factor. So he knocks him out of the campaign trail for a couple weeks. And at this point, I think the race is over. But a few events kind of came together to turn things around. Mike Pence demolished Kamala Harris at the VP debate. Demolished her. If it wasn't for the fly on the head, it would have been perfect. He kicked her butt so soundly the next morning at like 7 in the morning, the debate commission announced, oh yeah, the next debate is going to be virtual, just to steal Pence's thunder. And to help Biden out, because he does well virtually. So Trump's livid, and the heat's on the debate commission, and then the debate moderator gets caught colluding with the mooch. He gets knocked out, and then we get into the whole rigged system again. They start dumping a bunch of lies about Russian bounties, about Trump cursing out soldiers, all fake news, slime. And then RGB goes down and ACB comes up. And she is spectacular, very polished, very impressive, just dazzled everybody at the hearing. And that kind of showed the stakes for the election because the Senate was in the balance, the court was in the balance. This is big, consequential stuff. And then the Republicans get an October surprise. The Republicans have not gotten an October surprise. We never get October surprises. We got the laptop from hell. That thing is a roadmap to the Biden family crime. Syndicate, I would call it. I mean, Hunter's getting wires for millions of dollars from Moscow and Beijing. They're holding 10 for the big guy. Joe's getting kickbacks. Chinese tycoons are bribing Hunter Biden with diamonds. When does another man give another man a diamond? You think Hunter's engaged to the tycoon? That's a bribe. But what does the media do? The media covers it up. Big tech shuts it down. They silence it. So no one really knows about it. And basically, last debate, Trump's very on message, all talk, no action, beholden by China and the radical left, and very, very disciplined. And Biden starts falling apart. Biden starts making ridiculous comments about court packing, about fracking, and the wheels start to fall off, and you can feel the momentum shifting. They start introducing Kamala Harris as the president by accident, or maybe not. Biden starts speaking gibberish, and Trump's having a blast. Trump is closing like a happy warrior. He's doing the YMCA. Biden can't even spell YMCA. I mean, things are looking good. The GDP number comes out. It's like a 33 spot. You can just kind of tell. Same way with the way he finished with Crooked, that the whole thing has shifted. So on election night, I expected a win, and we didn't get it. And I just remember in Pennsylvania, the next day we're watching on the 5, and I'm next to Williams, and we're showing video, and we're trying to look in the count rooms. And you can't look in the count rooms. And that reminds me of my daughters who are both 9. Now, if my daughters are in their room and the doors close and I say, hey, do you guys have any cookies in there? And they say, no, Dad. And then I say, can I come in? And you hear a lock. They have cookies in there. It's common sense. So you know something was crooked. You know there was shenanigans going on, but you couldn't prove it. There's just not a mechanism in place in this country to prove in that condensed time frame all that fraud. It was different in Florida because you have one state, difference of 500, that one state hangs in the balance. Now you have multiple states. Everything's contested. They didn't have the legal firepower, and they just couldn't put it together. And it's clear what happened. When people say the election was rigged, what they really mean is this. You have big tech, you have big media, you have Wall Street. They want China. They want access to 1.5 billion people. They go over there, they make cheap goods, they sell the cheap goods back here, they make large profits. Trump rocked the boat. Trump said, no, 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 no. Middle class is getting hosed. They're sending us fentanyl, and we're sending them our factories. This does not work for us. So he was tough on trade. And he called it the China virus. And that's not good for business. So I call this the China Alliance. All of these powerful interests, I talked about them earlier tonight, they all consolidated to do whatever they could to prevent Trump from winning a second term. And you also hear about rigged stuff. It's not just that. The last 4 years, I mean, I have an example. I have a list that I sometimes read to Juan. It's a long list. Didn't bring it with me, but you know what they did. The gang rape hoaxes, the leaks, they leaked his tax returns, the SWAT team raids on his people, the special counsels, the lies, the fake news, the blackouts, the boycotts, the violence. I mean, it all adds up. So Biden comes in, and he gets inaugurated, and he breaks the bank and the border. Like the first thing, breaks the bank, breaks the border. And then he causes a labor crisis because of the $300 bonus, and he triggers inflation. A gallon of gas costs more than my hairspray. Something's not right, guys. Something's not right about that. So the Republican Party is poised to do very well in the midterms and send Nancy Pelosi into retirement, I believe. Just don't screw it up, okay, guys? Just don't screw it up. So it's funny that the truth is all now coming out, because when you look back, 2020 was a lie. If you think about it, just came out, watchdog, Trump did not tear gas peaceful protesters to take a photo op with the church and the Bible. 3 studies out saying hydroxychloroquine is effective. Latest study out that says masks don't work. As a matter of fact, masks are dangerous, especially among children. The laptop was real. The lab leak was real. Fauci is not a hero. Cuomo is not a hero. The Russian bounty story was a hoax. All of these things are now coming out now because the media basically committed suicide to drag Sleepy Joe over the finish line. No one trusts them anymore. They have no credibility. The media basically canceled themselves. That's the kind of cancel culture I like. So, Sleepy Joe slept his way to the top, but this is still Trump country, right? But always remember one thing. I'm Waters, and this is my world. Thank you guys very much.
Well, thank you, Jesse. What a great job. Is he not the funniest speaker we've ever had? Honestly. A couple of notes before we leave. We are going to have a Meet the Candidates get-together. It will be in the front of the convention center here in the lobby immediately following the dinner. The PA Leadership Conference resumes with breakfast tomorrow at 7 a.m. sharp. And one of the candidates that was missing from the list is Dr. Nish Zama, who is here tonight, a noted heart surgeon from up in the northeast region of Pennsylvania. So thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. God bless you. We have a great day tomorrow. So have fun and have fun tonight.